Hey folks, Dave back again, and this time I want to do a proper video for Momentum Football. The last one I kind of revisited it and played a little bit and set it up. I was kind of all over the place, but then this one here, I do want to talk about setting up the game and then playing the game and going over a few things and what they actually mean. Okay, so I want to give this a proper video, so to speak, because the last one, I was not too thrilled about. As I was all over the place. I'm just going to set this. I'm going live just so I don't have to record and upload it. I think it'd just be faster to go live. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let's do the setup first. Let me go to my overhead camera here. So I got my Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New England Patriots here. This is 1980 season. I only have two seasons right now. I have 1976 and 1980. And I want to play a little bit here to see if I enjoy the game enough to buy more seasons and where this fits into my gameplay regimen, so to speak. So let's set up the score sheet first. So what we need to do is we need to put in the grade of the two teams, and then that gives us a defense control factor, and I'll explain what that means in 1 second. So let's start with the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, so you can see that the Eagles, their offense is C, and their defense is A. Okay, so let's go over here to my thing here. So their offense is C, and their defense is A. So that's the grade for Philadelphia. Now, for New England, as we call it New England, their offense is B and their defense is B under team ratings right here in the middle. So we're going to go back to our spreadsheet, and we're going to go B, B. So this is basically setting up our score sheet is what it is. Now, in the directions here towards the back, okay, they have this chart. And this chart is called the defense control factor. And what we're going to do is you look at the offense compared to the defense, and that's going to give you a set of numbers. So if we look at Philadelphia offense is a C, and the New England defense is a B, it says 2 to 6, 12. So let me write that in there. So we're going to go to our spreadsheet. So it's going to be 2 to 6, 12. Okay, so that's going to be Philadelphia's defensive control factor. All right, now actually that's going to be the New England control factor, I believe it is. The visiting defense, offense, rank, cross-reference, home team. Write it down, and that's going to be the visiting team. Yep, okay. Yeah, visiting team offense, home team defense. That's going to be the visiting team control factor. I don't know why I did a double take on that. Okay, so now New England is a B, and Philadelphia is an A. So if I look at my handy-dandy chart, a B on an A, well, it's exactly the same thing. 2 to 6 and 12. So 2 to 6 and 12. What this means is when you roll for the initial play, okay, it's going to determine if you're reading off the offensive drive results or the defensive drive results. That's kind of what's happening here. So that's the first thing you need to do to set up is get your defense control factor for each team. In this case, they're the same. Now, you'll have cases when you have bad teams against good teams where you might just have 2 to 4, and that's it. Or you might have 2 to 6 and 9 to 12, which is I think is going to be the best here. So depending on how good the defense is and how good the offense is, that's where you're going to run into what the other team controls. All right, so let's take a look at the team card. Before I get into any gameplay, let's look at the team card. So we're all basically set up, ready to go. As far as the records go, I just you can put in whatever you want, but let's just say Philadelphia won the first game and New England lost the first game, and now they're here in week 2 and they're playing each other. That's all the record is. So the record is really just kind of a window dressing type of thing here. So let's go now. Let's take a look at the team card again. So let's bring up the New England Patriots. This is their team card. Now, if we look at their team card, I'm kind of looking off to the side. It's a little bit easier for me to look at here. You can see that on the left, you have offensive drive results, and on the right, you have defensive drive results. What that means is that when you roll, your initial roll for the play, if, let's just say, New England has the ball, and you roll and you find out that the defense does not control the play, then you will read from the New England offensive drive results on the left-hand side. However, if you roll the dice and it does fall under the defensive control, then you would call up the Philadelphia card. So let's put New England away and call up Philadelphia. And you would read off the right-hand column over here under defensive drive results for Philadelphia. So that's kind of how that works out. So that's how the initial roll works. So let's go back to New England for 1 second. So that's how a normal play works, and I'll go through that really, really slow. Let's start off with looking at the quarterbacks. So we have 2 quarterbacks here, and you can roll the dice to determine who plays, or just pick whoever you want. That's fine. And then as you go across, you see that they have a key pass thing, and that'll come up if you land on key pass. Well, you roll to find out if it was a sack, a touchdown, a first down, a punt, or an interception. So on a key pass, those are the 5 results that can happen. If you go down to the rushing stats, you can see that they have a handful of rushers here. And if they score a touchdown on the run, you can roll 11 to 66 to determine who got that running touchdown. And also you can determine how, if they have their longest run. There is a way in this game to figure out all the stats. I'm not going to talk about that here today. I'm going to get into some basic gameplay here to get you off and running. There's a whole section in the back of the instructions to show you how to do all these stats. I'm not going to do that here, okay? Maybe in another video, most likely not, because I'm only playing this to get a final score. But I do like to know who scores the touchdowns, and that's what you can do with this. But you can also find out how long the touchdown run was, the touchdown pass was, how long the field goals were, and then at the end, you can roll a bunch of dice and fill in all the blanks and have full stats. So that's what this game will do. But let's just concentrate on some gameplay right now. So if we go back to the rushers, you can see that they have a key run. And what that means is if you land on key run, you need to determine who you're looking at. And right now, under the key run, there's only 2 running backs we can look at, Vegas Ferguson and Don Calhoun, because they're 11 to 36 and 41 to 66. So if you were to get a key run, you would roll to see who you're looking at, and then you'd see the results of that key run. Is it a touchdown, a first down, or a punt? Okay? Same thing with the receiving team down below. If you get a touchdown, you roll, and 11 and 66 will tell you who got the touchdown. And again, you can roll to see how long the touchdown was. And then under key reception, it's the same thing as the key run. You roll to see who you're checking. And right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like you can get 6 or 7 different receivers to check for their key reception. And then you roll to see what it's going to be. Again, touchdown, first down, or punt. So the key pass, the key run, and the key receptions bring the individuals into this game. And that's what I do like about that is individuals are part of this game. Not a huge part, but they are at least a part of it. Let's get on to the kicking now. John Smith, his field goals made are 11 to 54. That's just a straight-up 11 to 66 dice roll. He cannot be blocked. His long is 44. That's more for stat purposes anyway. And the extra points are basically perfect, 11 to 66. I think there is a little optional rule that you can say if you roll an 11 and then roll another 11 that the kick is blocked or something like that. But anyway, so in theory, he cannot have a kick block. Same with the punting. Mike Huback. I don't remember Mike Huback as VL123 stops by. He cannot be blocked, and it can be returned for a touchdown on a 43 to 66 only if the other team has a touchdown return. And looking at Philadelphia, they do not have anybody that can return a punt for a touchdown. New England can, and we'll get to that in 1 second. At the top, we see the team ratings. As we talked about, the offense is B and the defense is B, and that's where we determined our defensive control factor. Okay, that's real important, by the way, to who controls the dice roll and what chart you look at. So that's their offensive and defensive ratings. And again, you just cross-reference that over here with the other defense, and you get the ratings. It's really easy. The defensive adjustments, I don't use those. Those are kind of some optional advanced rules, so I'm not using them right now. Oh, you're a big Eagles fan. Yeah, the Eagles won tonight, and Chiefs won tonight. So I figured the 2 home teams would win. I didn't really watch much of it tonight. I kind of don't care. You know, some of my favorite teams are long gone, so whatever. So let's drop down to the defensive players now. So it lists a handful of key defensive players. Not everybody, but a handful of key defensive players. And it shows you who's going to pick up the interception and who's going to pick up the fumble, so you can figure out who does that. In this case, with New England, they do have a chance to return an interception and a fumble for touchdowns. Now, if we go to Philadelphia, okay, Philadelphia can return a fumble for a touchdown, but they do not have anyone that can return an interception for a touchdown. So if Philadelphia were to get an interception, you don't even bother checking. Okay, but with New England, if we go back to New England, they do have people, or at least one guy here, and it's going to be Rod Schote. So if you were to roll an interception and then roll again, and those numbers come true, so you need an 11 or 12, and then 44 or less, Rod Schote would return it for a touchdown. I like a lot of different teams, But anyway, hey, good luck to the Eagles, and thanks for stopping by, VL. As I'm just talking about this game here tonight. This is a fun game, so I just want to go over it. Anyway, so New England has the ability to return interceptions and fumbles for touchdowns. They don't have the sacks, though, so when a quarterback is sacked, we don't have the numbers yet. I know they did go back, and they did do all the sack numbers going back to, I forget when, but they didn't make it into this game when this was made. So this particular season, we don't know who sacked the quarterback. So just putting that out there. Going down to kickoff returns, New England, they can return a kickoff for a touchdown. So Horace Ivory can return a kickoff for a touchdown if you roll 11 and the other set of dice is 45 or less. And the same with punt return. So Roland James can return a punt if it's an 11 and then 44 or less. Let's go take a look at the Eagles one more time. Let's go back to the Eagles. Philadelphia. So let's look over here at let's look at the punter, Max Runniger, down the bottom left. So when the Eagles go to punt, if you roll an 11 and the other two dice are 35 or less, the punt is blocked. So he has the, I don't want to say the ability, but he has the possibility of a punt block. Okay, whereas New England, if I look at Mike Huback, his punts cannot be blocked. So it's kind of neat that different kickers are part of this too. They can be blocked and not blocked, okay? Tony Franklin's field goal cannot be blocked. Okay, so we don't even have to check for that. In fact, there's not many that can. I was surprised that you could block a Dallas field goal. I really was in 1980. But in this case, you can. So if we punted, just kind of throwing this out there, if we punted and Max Runniger kicked it away and it was not blocked, and the second set of dice was between 42 and 66, that would mean New England has a chance for a return. So if New England has a chance for the return, then we look at Roland James punt return. So he would have to roll an 11 and then 44 or less on a second set of dice for that to be a touchdown. So there is a possibility of returning a punt for a touchdown in this game. It's just you have to get all the dice rolls pretty much exact for that to happen. So hopefully you followed all that. It is pretty self-explanatory once you get going. Let's see. Okay, let's take a look at some of the results here on the card. So let's just say that New England has the ball, and whatever the roll was, we were going to read off the offensive drive results. That would mean that the defense did not control the roll and that we would read off the offensive drive results. I will say that for the most part, you tend to read a lot off the defensive drive results, which favor the defense. And obviously the offense results favor the offense a little bit in most cases. So right off the bat, if you roll an 11 or 12, you have a fumble and you've coughed the ball up. Now, Philadelphia does have the ability, if I call up the Eagles again, Philadelphia does have the ability, if I were to roll 11 or 14, and if I roll a 14, then I'd have to roll 44 or less. But they do have the ability to return a fumble for a touchdown, and it's a pretty good one. 11 to 14 is pretty decent. So if New England were to fumble, then Philadelphia does have a chance to return. There are many teams that don't have a fumble return possibility, so a fumble, basically dead ball, and the other team takes over. You can see in the red from 13 to 21, that's an interception. And that pretty much follows the same rule as a fumble. We would go to Philadelphia, and Philadelphia cannot return an interception for a touchdown, so that would be it. They would just intercept it, and they would get the ball back. Simple as that. Let's go back to New England here. And the other thing is a quarterback sack. So basically, the quarterback gets sacked, and you would have to punt it away. Then you see punt. That's pretty self-explanatory. Punt is a punt is a punt. Then we have the yellow thing there. It's a key penalty. If you roll a key penalty, whoever has the momentum benefits from it. So Let me just double check here. But if you're on offense with a key penalty, basically you get another roll. So the drive continues because of the penalty. And if it's on against the offense, then you have to punt. So let's say New England's on offense. They have the momentum. They get key penalty. The drive stays alive, and they get to roll again. And they would automatically roll off the offensive chart no matter what happens. Again, if it's on the offense, then they got to punt. So that is a key pass. Key run, key pass, and key reception. We kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, whereas a key run, so let's just say we rolled key run for New England. We would roll the dice again. We would check 11 to 66 to see which running back we're checking on the key run, and we would look under AT&T for the attempt, so it's either Vegas Ferguson or Don Calhoun, and the second set of dice tells us what happened, TD, first down, or punt, okay? So you either keep the drive alive, score, or you punt it away. And Charles comes back, yep, I'm trying to do a proper video on how to play this. The field goal attempt, self-explanatory. It's a field goal attempt. So John Smith, field goal attempt is 11 of 54, and there is a way to figure out how long the kick is if you really want to, but basically just 11 of 54. His kick cannot be blocked, and I don't think the Eagles' kicker can be blocked either. There are very few chances to block a field goal, but it's in there. Let's see, the other thing is a TD run. So 54 to 61 is you get a TD run. And then you would roll on the rushing chart to see who got that touchdown. And that is a TD run, self-explanatory. TD pass, same thing. Except you would roll on the receiving chart to see who got the TD pass. And this is kind of just kind of window dressing here, if you will. But it's all available there if you want to do it. Otherwise, you could just go TD run, call it a day. But I think the reason why you would play this game is because you want to see who got the TD runs and TD passes. Game-winning drive doesn't give you that. This game will give you that. As Frank stops by, tough night for a Bengals fan. How many times have I watched football, and as soon as the guy goes out of bounds, the Bengal guy's got to shove him and give him 15 more yards? That has happened more often than I can count. It really has. So they do it to themselves. If the guy doesn't make that stupid play, they're probably still playing right now, but it is what it is. So those are the outcomes on the offense. And on the defense, the outcomes are the same. They're just more in favor of the defense. So let's just say Philly had the ball, and they rolled, and the New England defense controlled the play. Then you would read off the defensive drive results on the right-hand side, and you can see there's a lot more punts and a lot less touchdowns is how it is. So that is that. So that's a look at the team cards and how things are done. So let's do a little bit of gameplay, shall we? So let me see if I can hide the team cards here. Kind of going real slow as we get going. So we've set up the score sheet. Okay, again, the record is just kind of whatever you want to put in there, whatever the record is at the time. The grades are very important, and then you cross-reference. So again, we cross-reference the Philadelphia C offense with the New England B defense, and we got 2 to 6 and 12. And we did the same with New England with their offensive B and the defensive A, and that gave us 2 to 6 and 12 as well. So what does 2 to 6 and 12 mean? Well, let's roll the dice and find out. So we're going to roll 2 sets of dice. You have the red and the white, and then you have the blue and the yellow. The first thing you do is you look for the highest and the lowest, okay? I need to fix this right here. Sorry about that. I got the lights at a real bad angle, so let me angle that up so you can see the dice a little bit better. There we go. Get it up a little higher. Hopefully that'll show the dice a little bit better. Yeah, a little bit. All right, so that's the dice. Well, it is what it is. I'm sorry about the glare. So that's our dice roll. All right. So we look at the highest and the lowest. So it's a 2 and a 6. No matter how you slice it, 2 and 6 are the highest, okay? So what you do is you add them up, and that's 8. Over here, on this sheet right here, there's a game clock, and it's really kind of neat. And all you do is scratch off 8 blocks, or 8 boxes, and they're 20 seconds a box. So I think I figured it out. 6 is 2 minutes. And so every 3 is a minute. So we're rolling 8. So we would scratch off 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it would be about 13 minutes left in the quarter. So we're going to go. So that's how we'll play. Let's do the kickoff. Okay, let's back up. Let's do the kickoff first off. Okay, let's do the kickoff. So we start off with New England. I should do the kickoff before I get into the plays. So New England again. New England's home field advantage under the team ratings is a plus. So that means that they will start off with a plus over here on the momentum. All right, so there they go. So there's New England right there. So the momentum starts off with New England, the home team, with the advantage. So we're going to have New England kick off to Philadelphia. So Philadelphia will get the ball first. It's the first quarter, and we'll do another fresh dice roll, okay? We're going to do the kickoff. So the kickoff, if I look on Philadelphia, their kickoff returns, they don't have a kick return. They cannot return a kick or a punt for a touchdown. So basically, when we kick off to Philadelphia, we don't need to roll. We don't need to do anything, okay? Does Downey offer the game for the computer, Barry? No, I don't think Downey has anything on the computer. These are all cards and dice. I just transposed the score sheet into Excel just so I could show it off. Steeler fan comes by. Thanks for coming by. Okay, so let's roll the dice. So we determined that Philadelphia is going to have the ball first, that we don't have to worry about the kickoff because they cannot return it for a touchdown, and there's no fumbles or anything like that on kickoffs or punts. That's just kind of how this game works. So let's roll the dice. And now we're going to separate them. We're going to go over the time again. So remember, the time is the highest and the lowest. So it's 1 and a 5 are the highest and the lowest of the 4. So we're going to check off 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to have 13 minutes on the clock. What this means is that Philadelphia had the ball for 2 minutes, and we're going to check and see what happened on this drive. So that's kind of how it works. You get the time of the drive, how long the drive took, and then you get the outcome of the drive. We're going to look at the blue and the yellow die. That's the first thing we're going to look at. It's a 6. So if we look at the defensive control factor for New England, 2 to 6, it falls in line to 2 to 6. So New England defense will control what happens on this play, if you will. So now that result is a 15. So let's call up New England. So we determined that New England defense is going to control this result, and a 16 is an interception. Beautiful. It's an interception. So New England's going to get a nice interception of Ron Jaworski. So I'll putting that into my spreadsheet behind you here. So it's an interception. So since they can return it for an interception, we're going to roll the dice and see if they do. Now, I need an 11 or 12 to even consider it being returned. So no, so a 53 is not good enough. So it is not returned for a touchdown, but we can figure out who picked it off. Number 35. Number 35, as you can see under interception, is Tim Fox. So Tim Fox with a nice interception. So interception by Tim Fox. And so New England now takes the ball over. An interception is a momentum-changing play. So now they have double momentum. Okay, so it's going to be real hard for Philadelphia to get that momentum back now. So New England has the ball, and now we roll for them. Fumbles, interceptions, sacks, key penalties, and touchdowns are all key plays which affect momentum. Field goals sometimes can, okay? And I believe if you take the lead with a field goal, it's momentum. And if you miss it, it's momentum for the other team. So momentum goes back and forth between the two teams, depending on what happens. And it's all explained in the rules there. So, yeah, I'm trying to do a proper video on this. The first one's all over the place. So I'm trying to do a proper video for momentum football. I'm not going to play a whole game, just a little bit of gameplay here. All right, so it's an interception by Tim Fox. New England has the ball. And off a turnover, off a fumble or an interception, and even a key penalty or a key run or a pass, you will automatically read off the offensive chart. So when I roll my dice here for New England, all right, let's get our time. So it's a 1 and a 4. So if I subtract 5 off my chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's going to be 11:20. So it's going to be a very short drive for New England. Didn't take much time off the clock. And now I look, and I don't have to even check these dice here for the defensive control factor because of the interception. So let's bring up New England. If you think Downey game-winning drive, if you ever play game-winning drive and you have a turnover, you know how you actually you add 10 to the dice roll so it increases the chances, of a score. That's kind of the same thing you're doing here. You're reading off the offensive chart. So a 41 for New England is going to be a key pass. Cool. So let's check out what a key pass is. So I'm just going to type that into my spreadsheet here so I have that. So it's going to be a key pass for New England. So what we need to do is determine who the key pass is going to, and we're going to check that. So let's roll the dice. So it's going to be 62. So if I look at New England under attempts on receiving, a 62 is Andy Johnson. Okay? So look at receiving, and the key reception is Andy Johnson, 55 to 63. Now he rolled a 65. So Andy Johnson, on his key reception, a 65 is a punt. Okay? So maybe he didn't make the catch. Maybe he caught it and he short of the first down. But whatever it is, he is short and it's not going to be a first down. So we can hide New England. And the key pass result is a key pass to Johnson is a punt. Okay? Now, a key pass, that is also part of a momentum-changing play. So if a failed run, then it's a momentum-changing play. So we failed. So now the momentum swings back towards Philadelphia. Okay, just one little tick over here. So now Philadelphia has the ball. And remember, we don't bother rolling for punts because they don't have a punt return. So a punt's kind of just automatic per se, because they can't return for a punt. Now, New England can, but Philadelphia can't. So New England, they got a nice interception by Tim Fox, but the key pass to Johnson fails. It's a punt, and Philadelphia gets the ball back here in the first quarter. So let's roll our dice and continue on. And we're just going to play a little bit more. We won't go too long. So we have a 33. So a 33 and a 32, 23. So 2 and 3, so that's 5. So I'm going to knock 5 off the clock. And that's going to be, so it's going to be about 9:40 is where we end up. And again, this is the end of the drive. So this drive has taken a little less than 2 minutes. And now let's see what happens on the drive. Let's look at these dice first. It's a 5. Sometimes you add these, and sometimes you look at them like APA style. When you check in defensive control factor in the first roll, you do add them. So it's a 5. So we look at the control factor. 2 to 6 is controlled by the defense, and so that's going to be New England controlling this play. So let's call up the New England card, and let's look at the New England defense, and a 33 is just a punt. All right, so we're going to do a punt. Now, Max Runniger can be blocked. So let's bring up Philadelphia. We looked at Max Runniger down over here, and this is specifically why I took these two teams. So I'm going to roll the dice, and let's see if it's blocked and or if it can be returned. All right, so a 35 says that it's not going to be blocked. So Runniger gets a kick away. 42 to 66 means it's returnable. So a 65 falls in that category. So the punt is returnable. So let's call up New England now. All righty. So Roland James goes back to receive the punt. If he rolls an 11, then we can check to see if he gets a touchdown return on it. Anything but an 11 is just New England ball. All right, so it's not. So he just returns it, and New England gets it back. So that's kind of how some of the gameplay actually works here. Let me just get Philadelphia on here. So let me put that back on my score sheet. So that's just a punt, and momentum doesn't change on a punt, so it'll stay right there. New England has the ball in the first quarter, and then we kind of start to play again. And that's kind of how the gameplay works here. It's rolling the dice, getting your time, figuring out if the defense controls the play or if you're going to read off the offense. And then from there, just following along. And like I said, I went over kind of all the things that can happen in the game. It's fairly simple. It really is. It's that simple to follow along. The only time it gets a little crazy, again, is when you're checking for block punts or block kicks or returns. There's a couple extra dice rolls in there. But again, if you look at Philadelphia, a lot of teams, they don't have any kickoff returns or punt returns or interception returns. So when something like that happens, you just kind of just go right to the next play because there's no chance to score. I suppose you could put in some homebrew rules if you wanted to. So if you rolled an 11 or whatever, then, something might happen. But anyway, as far as the gameplay goes, that's how it goes. I've been kind of enjoying this, honestly. I really have, since I come back to Studio B. So I just wanted to do a little bit of gameplay on this to show you how to set up the score sheet, what to look for when you're rolling dice, getting your timing going, seeing what can be returned for interceptions or fumbles or punts or kickoffs. So not every team can return things or for touchdowns. So a lot of the games will be a little bit easier because you'll look and say, the kickoffs are just automatic because they can't return a kickoff for a touchdown. So that is that. But again, the big selling point for this game would be the stats. So if you get a touchdown, you see who got it, how long it was. You can determine lengths of field goals and a whole bit. I don't do that. Again, I like this game to get my final score with a little bit of detail. That's kind of where this falls in the line for me for football games. I like a little bit of detail in my games. But if like I said in the last video, if I'm going to play a game and I want full stats, I'm going to play a full game. I'm going to play, a second season. I'm going to play Solitaire Pro Football. That's what I'm going to play. Those are my two big games, and maybe even fast action football from Downey, which I play from time to time, which I might dig out again and see if I can give that some more love. That was a flip fest, though, and it was just you're trying to keep track of everything. I think even Mean Gene was pretty good by Downey if you want to play a full-fledged game there. A lot of those Downey games are pretty good like that. I think they are. But for this one here, and it's too bad because they added all this meat and potatoes to this thing here. So at the end of the game, you can sit and roll, and get all your stats for the game and do it all up nice. Again, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to play a full-fledged game. I'm going to watch every handoff and every pass and every incompletion, and I'm going to keep my stats that way instead of doing it kind of tacking it on at the end. But this game will do that if you want it. So anyway, that's a little bit better look at Momentum Football from Downey Games as far as setting up your score sheet, some example play, what some of the different results of the game do. It's fairly simple. And I remember I played this a couple years ago, maybe longer, and I walked away from it, and I don't remember why. I remember that somewhere in my head I was saying, this is one of my least favorite football games from Downey because I do like fast action. I do like game-winning drive, and I do like a couple of the quick play games that they have for football games. I don't know why I didn't like this one. And so that's why I did a revisiting video, and I played 3 games now, and it's fine. I didn't find why I didn't play this game. So maybe it's just that now that I played more, that I was ready to play this. Maybe I'm just a different frame of mind. Maybe that I've got more experience with cards and dice. This makes a lot more sense because when I first played this, I was still fairly new, and I was ripping through a lot of games back then. I really was. I think I was buying everything from Downey and trying it. So now that I had the chance to stop and slow down and play it again, I think this is kind of fun. It really is. So anyway, this is Dave, and it's a little bit of Momentum Football from Downey. Having some fun with it here. So I'm going to go probably finish this game offline.